Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm going to be giving my Premier League predictions for the table 2021 to 2022. And let's hope for a better Premier League season compared to last year. We had Man City literally run away with the Premier League, where Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United couldn't even get close. Since Chelsea and Man United are looking to make new signings, Liverpool having no more injuries, let's hope these teams can get closer to Man City and actually have a chance of competing for the Premier League for a better season. Let's see if Leicester can get closer to a top four, because we've seen 2 seasons in a row they have choked away a top 4 lead. Other teams, Brentford and Norwich, Premier League teams now who are playing in the Championship last season, let's see if they can make their impact in terms of the Premier League, like teams like Leeds and Sheffield United have in the past. But yeah, let's hope for a better Premier League season this year, and let's just hope for goals, drama, entertainment, every single thing, man. Let's just hope for it, man. But remember guys, to like, comment and hit that big subscribe button right there. And make sure you give me your own predictions on who will finish where in the Premier League this season. So the 10th place team, I'm just going to go straight into it, is Leeds. And I know you guys are probably confused, like, Leeds? Really? Them getting to the top 10? Yes, I truly think that. I know you guys are probably thinking, second season syndrome. Surely Leeds are going to teeter off. Surely they're not going to be as good and as entertaining as last season. Like we've seen teams like Sheffield United, when they get promoted, top 10. But second season, they go straight back down into the relegation zone. I just don't think this will happen to Leeds. I think they have too much quality, and the most important reason I don't think this will happen to Leeds is because of their manager. Their manager is intense, Bielsa, who's going to always want to press, always be in the front foot. He's going to make sure even in training, he's going to have that intensity level. He's not going to leave space or room for the players to be complacent. And I'm telling you, Leeds have no conscience the way they play. Even if they've lost 3 or 4 games in a row, even if they haven't picked up points for the last 3 or 4 or 5 games, they will play the exact same formula, they will play the exact same philosophy and try to get results. But also, luckily for Leeds, they've been keeping their better players. Bamford scored 15 Premier League goals last season, should have been called up for the Euros. Obviously, Rafinha, I thought he would have been snatched up by a top 6 club already, but he's had a superb season last year, so it's important that they kept them. Rodrigo having another season under his belt, who we know he's been good in the Liga. So yeah, Leeds have so much to look forward to. So they've not lost any of their players. They still are playing with the same intensity, and they still have one of the better managers in the Premier League. So the 9th place team I'm going to go for is Aston Villa. I know you guys are probably thinking again, really, Aston Villa getting into the top 10? I just believe so, and most importantly, they must keep Jack Grealish. And obviously teams like Man City are linked with him, but Man City have said they don't have money. So that's why I'm saying, okay, this might be my prediction that if Jack Grealish stays, surely they'll get into the top 10. And I'm saying Jack Grealish is that good to guide Aston Villa to this place. But let me not just talk about Jack Grealish, who we all know is a phenomenal talent and should have been starting for the Euros. Let me talk about the other important players they've been signing in the last year or two. We've had Martinez, one of the better goalkeepers in the Premier League. Then you have other players like Konsa, who are people saying was better than Mings last season and should have been called up for the Euros. You have Watkins, who's also been superb, banging goals in the Championship and has been able to transfer this into the Premier League. Although he should be scoring more goals, he is a reliable partner for Jack Grealish to, literally team up with when it comes to scoring goals. So Aston Villa have been looking good ever since they looked like they were going to get relegated 2 years ago when they finished 16th or 17th. And Aston Villa are only going to get better because they have the continuity of the manager. They also got the players, and most importantly, like I said, they got their talisman, their main man, Jack Grealish. So my 8th place finish, and I'm so confident about this one. I know you guys might be surprised, but I am going to go for Tottenham Hotspur. And I am so confident about this because they had Harry Kane and Heung-min Son have their best statistical season in a Tottenham shirt, and they still finished 7th place last season. So why on earth would I think they're going to get even higher this year, when obviously Kane and Son will struggle to even reach those figures? Because obviously Daniel Levy still hasn't improved the defense. He still hasn't brought in any other defenders who are actually at a competent level. You have Dyer, who's not good enough for Tottenham. You have the reckless Sanchez, who's just always reckless. We saw Gundogan drop him last year in the Premier League. So obviously Tottenham do need to improve in that facet. And they brought Santos, who is a good manager, don't get me wrong, but he shouldn't be managing a top 6 side. And he plays defensive football. If Mourinho, one of the better managers of this generation, couldn't get the best out of these defenders, what on earth makes you think that Santos is going to be getting better out of these players? He isn't. He's not going to make these guys look like Puyo and Piqué at the back, is he? No, he's not. And when Kane leaves, there's going to be a massive hole for goals and assists. So who's going to be able to get these goals when we know Santos isn't an offensive manager who isn't going to get Bergwijn and Lamela getting more goals per season? So how are Spurs going to score? And how are Spurs going to defend? They got so many problems, and the players are probably very pessimistic of the signing of Santos because he's not that world class, that marquee name like Mourinho was. So what on earth are Tottenham going to do this season? They're going to sugarcoat and say it's a transition season, and it is. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't see them competing at all for a top 6 or top 5 place, man. So the 7th place team I'm going to go for is Arsenal FC. I just don't feel that Arsenal fans should be very optimistic coming into this season as well, man. I just don't see it. I know they signed Ben White, who I didn't even hear of until last season, until the latter stage of the year, and he didn't even start for the Euros, not even one game. So how good really is Ben White? But Arsenal have prioritized signing what they want rather than what they need. They still need a midfielder, ball-playing midfielder, ever since Xhaka is going to go to Roma next to Partey, and they still haven't signed this player. They still need a cam player to fill in the shoes of Odegaard, who has left last year, who did perform quite well, and they still haven't done that. I know Smith Rowe's there, but you can't put all that responsibility and pressure on a young kid like that. They missed out on Buendia. Even at the right back position, Bellerin's not good enough, but they still even don't have a backup player for him, so Bellerin's still getting minutes. But this still shows that Arsenal do not have the squad, do not have the capabilities of actually competing for a top 5, top 4 position. Obviously, you still have players like Aubameyang and Lacazette, but how good are these players going to be? And I just want to talk about Aubameyang for a second. He has been a very good player for Arsenal, a very good signing, don't get me wrong. But are we witnessing the decline of Aubameyang? Are we sure he's really still that player? I know he was injured. I know he had went through family issues last season. But are we going to be able to count on him to get 20 goals? Because if he does, Arsenal will finish 5th or 6th. If he doesn't, there's no other real world-class goal scorers in the Arsenal side who's guaranteed to get you 20 goals per season. So Arsenal are not very good going forward in terms of getting the goals or do not have a cam. And although defensively they still had the 3rd or 4th best record in terms of the league, we all know defensively they still make silly mistakes, silly errors, which is going to cost them points next year, like we saw last year against Burnley on several occasions. So 6th place team I'm going to go for is Everton Football Club, and I just think they're going to finish here based off the fall. I know Rafa Benitez and I know the fan base aren't very excited of Everton appointing him, but I think this is going to be a solid appointment because although you're not going to be excited on the front foot football, he is going to be pragmatic, and at times it is going to be boring. But one thing I can speak of as a Liverpool fan, Rafa Benitez stabilizes football clubs. We saw it in 2013 when he went to Chelsea and he literally got them in Europa League and helped them finish 3rd. We saw it under Newcastle when he was able to get them top 10, top 11 finishes. This guy does not need all the components. He can make the most of what he's given. So I feel like he's not going to fail. I haven't really seen him fail in the past except for Real Madrid when obviously, I don't know, man, he shouldn't really got the job and he was put in a terrible situation. But apart from that, he's been able to get the best out of average players. So Rafa Benitez is going to be a good appointment. And other things, Goodison Park, like we saw last year, hasn't been a fortress. Obviously, teams like Fulham and Burnley were picking points up at Goodison Park when we know under David Moyes that used to be a fortress. Rafa Benitez knows a good thing about fortresses. So obviously, I think Everton are going to finish 6th. They still have players like Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin, better forwards than what Arsenal have. Maybe not what Tottenham have, but obviously when Kane leaves, it's going to be better than that. Still have James Rodriguez, who's a very good player. Started off good under Ancelotti last season at the beginning of it. So Everton still have a very good team with a very, very competent coach who I strongly feel like will be able to guide Everton to a 6th place finish. So 5th place, I think Leicester City is going to finish there. 2 seasons in a row, we have seen it as football fans. Leicester City have choked away finishing in the top 4, and I just don't think they're going to be able to finish there, man. And the reason being is just they don't have the squad. They don't have the thickness of the squad like the other sides like Man United and Chelsea and Liverpool, man. They have the squads to compete on 3 or 4 fronts. Leicester don't. Yes, they have a very talented 11, maybe 2 or 3 sub players who are very good, who can fit into the side. I do like players like Maddison, Harvey Barnes, Ndidi and Talisman. They could get into probably a lot of top 6 sides. I didn't even say Jamie Vardy. But in terms of their bench, I think they're going to struggle in terms of competing on 3 or 4 fronts. And I know Leicester City have strengthened, and I know they have strengthened well, bringing in players like Bertrand, who can replace Justin James when he's injured, and other players like Dakar, who can play strike for 27 million. He's got 27 goals in 28 games for Salzburg, but that is the Austrian league, and he's going to need time to settle in. And I know people are going to say, let's trust Leicester City, because in the past, they have not really got a transfer wrong. Ndidi for Kante, Mara's gone, Harvey Barnes in. Like, although they're not as good as these world-class players, they have shown that their recruitment team is strong. Even their centre-back Soyuncu, Fofana replacing Maguire. So obviously they know what they're doing, and they are able to embed players into a squad very well. But at the end of the day, the other top 4 teams are going to strengthen as well, and they're going to sign even better players on a different ballpark, which Leicester City can compete for. So the 4th place, I know it might shock people like I always say, but I am going to go for Manchester United. Surprisingly, what I will say, I feel like Manchester United will look better compared to last season because they signed Sancho. But I just feel like Liverpool, having the injury-free players they have right now, and Chelsea, who just came off a Champions League winning side, and Tuchel fully having his first season under Chelsea, I just feel like these sides are going to be better than Man United. There's nothing against Man United. I just don't feel like they're going to finish anywhere higher than 4th place. But let me just start with the good stuff. I feel like Sancho is a great acquisition for the side. He finally brings balance to Manchester United, which I've been saying they've needed for a long time. The days of Marcus Rashford starting on the right wing, looking awkward, looking like he doesn't even know how to dribble a ball, looking like he doesn't even know how to cross a ball, those days are over. Now he can play on his natural left-hand side and actually impact the game like we have seen in the past. Greenwood can finally play striker, because that's the position Man United fan, and that's where Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants to play him as well, and that's his natural position. So they don't have to overcompensate for putting someone on their unnatural position anymore on the right hand side. Wan-Bissaka, we know he's not very good going forward. So literally teams knew that the right hand side was awkward and it was average at best. All the attack was coming from the left hand side with players like Luke Shaw, Marcus Rashford or Pogba playing on the left hand side. They never had that player to give them balance. And Sancho is finally that player who can play in the starting lineup, who's obviously a very, very talented footballer, has the ability to rack up the assists because he's averaged at 20 assists in the last 3 seasons. So obviously he's going to make a massive, massive impact for Man United and literally remove some of the pressure off Bruno Fernandes. But I just don't see Man United finishing higher than that. If they sign Varane, let me just put this in. If they sign Varane, obviously I'm going to say maybe 3rd or even 2nd place. But at the moment they haven't signed him. And this is a massive, massive deal, because obviously Maguire is a very, very good centre-back. I do like him a lot, but he looks a lot better when he has 2 CDMs sitting right in front of him. Like we've seen with Fred McTominay sitting in front of him, seeing players like Phillips and Rice in the Euros. But when he only has that 1 CDM protection, we can see him get exposed. When he doesn't have that centre-back who's not as good as him, he does not look great, because obviously strikers or wingers can exploit him for pace in one-on-one duels. Maguire needs protection, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer knows this, and that's why they play Freddie McTominay, which removes the creativity and has literally been the downfall of Man United winning games at Old Trafford, because when it's at the low block, when you need more creative players on, they can't really play these guys because Man United have to overcompensate for playing defensive football just in case Maguire or Lindelof gets exposed. Also, I won't lie, I'm just going to say this, I don't have faith in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to actually lead Man United to have a title charge. I know you're probably thinking, last season Man United were in a title charge. No, they weren't. 10 to 15 games after the season, they were nowhere near the Premier League. Everyone knew that Man City had wrapped up the Premier League and it was only a matter of time. And Man United were dropping points even when Man City were looking at other competitions to win. I just don't feel like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is that world-class manager to push and guide Man United to a Premier League victory. So the 3rd place team I'm going to go for is Chelsea FC. And they are a very, very talented team. And I wouldn't be surprised if they finish 2nd. But I can definitely say right now, without signing a striker, I just don't feel like they're going to win a Premier League. Well, let me just start with the good parts like I did with Man United. Jorginho coming off literally a great season, winning the Champions League, winning the Euros, contention for the Ballon d'Or. You still have this great CDM, the best CDM in the world, in Kante right next to him. That's been working well there, partnership in the middle of the midfield. Then you have like 5 great options in that cam, left forward, right forward row, in Havertz, Mount, Hudson-Odoi, Ziyech, Pulisic. You have so much great talent, young great talent, who are only going to get better next season. And Tuchel can finally prepare his team for a Premier League season, because obviously he had to join in last season near the middle, quite chaotic, but now he has a fresh start. So this is going to bode well for Chelsea, and they're going to be much more prepared this season compared to last season. However, the reasons why I feel like Chelsea will not win the Premier League is quite obvious. They don't have a striker. The history of the Premier League for the last 29 years has said you need a striker to score 20 plus goals per season to win the Premier League. And I know you guys are going to say last season Man City didn't even have a striker, but oh my god, you have the best manager, probably one of the best managers to ever manage the game. And also, history does not look kind to Tuchel as well, because obviously only one manager in Premier League history has won the Premier League with playing 3 at the back, and that was Conte like 4 or 5 seasons ago. So obviously Tuchel does not have history looking kind to him. He plays 3 at the back and he doesn't have a number 9 just yet. And obviously the 3 at the back problem is, it looks nice against obviously the stronger teams where you can play counter-attacking football, but when you have to beat that low block and you don't have that number 9, first of all, you don't have that numerical advantage in the latter stages of the pitch. Second of all, you don't have a striker. He only needs 1 or 2 chances to finish up the dinner. So you're probably going to have a lot of 0-0, 1-1 draws, man. I like Werner. I feel like Werner contributes a lot in terms of the Chelsea side. But we all know he does not have the clinical gene which other players like Harry Kane does. And Chelsea desperately need this player. So obviously I feel like this is going to be a massive problem for Chelsea. So the second place team I'm going to go for, it is Liverpool FC. I know you guys are probably thinking, we're going to finish 4th in it. I know you guys, because Sancho coming at Man United, Tuchel finally has a first season on his belt, the home of the European champions. You guys are going to forget about what we did in the last 2 or 3 years, didn't you? You guys forgot that we missed our best centre-back, the best centre-back in the whole world, through injury because of what Pickford did last season. You guys forgot about that. You guys forgot how we had player after player injured. Henderson, Fabinho, Milner, everyone, every single player, Jota, injured. And we didn't have no continuity in terms of the back 4, or literally no continuity in terms of the midfield. It was a kind of absolute disaster. But we still finished 3rd. Imagine Liverpool with an absolute clean slate, starting from the beginning again, competing again. We've literally managed to get 97, 98 points. I'm not saying we're going to do this season, but literally that's what we were able to do when our players were healthy. I know other teams have improved, but we still have Jurgen Klopp. We still have the best centre back in the world. We still have a dangerous front 3, Salah, who scored 19, 20 goals last season. And we got Konaté, who's going to be a great backup, or he might even start for Liverpool. And now Liverpool have depth in that department, because obviously Gomez is coming back from injury. You also have players like Matip, who's also an excellent defender. We have 4 centre backs who are all very good. Not even talk about Phillips, who hasn't gone on loan yet. So Liverpool are looking strong in that department. However, I still feel like we're still a little bit thin going up front, because we saw when Jota got injured, we ran players into the ground. We saw Mane, Salah, Firmino look absolutely exhausted. They weren't pressing with that same intensity like we saw in the last 2 or 3 seasons compared to last season. We didn't see that. So hopefully Liverpool can get another forward, because obviously our way of playing is full metal football. It's always intensity, it's always pressing football. So obviously our players are going to get tired. But I'm just so happy Salah and Mane have had rest this season, because obviously they're African, they're not playing in the Euros or the Copa America. And I feel like we're going to be rolling again. I feel like Liverpool are going to be able to compete for the Premier League, and I think we're going to be able to drive closer to the actual team who finishes first. So the first place team, you've probably guessed it. Yes, it's so obvious. Like every other season, Man City are going to win the Premier League yet again. There's not much to say, man. It's just so obvious. They have the best squad. They have the best starting lineup. And if they get the striker, one of the best strikers in the world, Harry Kane or Haaland, it's curtains. We might as well not even compete for the Premier League. You might as well give the trophy to literally Man City, man. If they Haaland or Kane go to Man City, Oh, rest in peace for every other team, because they did it without a striker. But literally every single position they have like world-class players, man, except for left back, obviously. Every other position their players are excellent, man. You got Kyle Walker, Cancelo, you have John Stones, who had a great Euros. Not even talk about Laporte, he had a great Euros. And Diaz, who's probably the second best defender in the Premier League. You should have won the PFA Player of the Year. Then you have other players like Gundogan, Foden, still young, only going to get Benden, KDB, the best midfielder in the world. Like, Man City are going to win the Premier League. And Pep Guardiola is that manager who's not going to allow complacency to creep into the players, because this guy is a serial winner. He'll win back-to-back Premier Leagues like he done in 2017-18 to 18-19. Obviously, because they're still hurt and angry that they didn't win the Champions League. So this is only going to make them even more angry getting into the season. So Burnley, get prepared for another 5-0 defeat like you always suffer against Man City. But yeah, man, I just see Man City winning the Premier League again, man. With a striker, with not a striker. Mahrez, Bernardo Silva, like, the list goes on and on and on. And I just feel like they're going to be ready, they're going to be professional, they're not going to take the teams lightly like they do every single season. And Pep Guardiola is going to make sure these guys are focused.